Today, we're diving into a conflict that, according to our source material, kicked off long before human history even began. We're talking about a war fought by beings of incredible power in a realm just beyond our own.
Just let that sink in for a moment. This one idea suggests that our entire human story, everything we've ever known, has been unfolding in the shadow of a much older, much bigger cosmic conflict. A conflict that could still be shaping our world right now. So that begs the question, right? If there's a war going on that we can't see, who exactly is fighting in it? Well, our source material points to one specific answer: beings we call angels. So what are angels, really? I mean, according to these ancient texts, the first thing you've got to do is forget the cute little figures on Christmas cards. The original descriptions are, well, they're a lot more complex and, frankly, a lot more powerful. Here's the most important thing to get straight about them: their origin. They are their own distinct kind of being. They aren't human souls, and they are not gods. In fact, the ancient book of Job describes them as being there when the earth was made, making them older than we can even really wrap our heads around. And this is where it gets really interesting. They're described as immortal spirits, right? But they can also show up in a physical form and interact directly with our world. And we're not talking about just a handful of them. The texts describe their numbers as a celestial host, which basically means there are countless of them. Now, don't picture this as some chaotic mob. No, there's a very clear order, a hierarchy in the heavens. At the absolute top, closest to the divine throne, you have the seraphim, these beings of pure light and fire. Right below them are the cherubim, who are these powerful guardians of sacred spaces. Then you have the archangels, who are like the chief commanders and messengers. They're the ones we tend to hear about the most. It all points to a realm with real structure and purpose. And within this whole celestial structure, two main jobs, two primary roles just keep popping up again and again: the messenger and the warrior. This contrast is absolutely key to understanding them. You have Gabriel, who's like the celestial diplomat. He's the one delivering these massive, history-altering messages, like the Annunciation. And then you've got Michael. He's the warrior prince, the commander of heaven's armies, the one who engages in direct spiritual combat. You know, one wields words, the other wields a sword. And that really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? That gentle, chubby-cheeked image we all know is just so far from what's being described here. These beings are presented as formidable, powerful agents of a divine will, and they carry out that will with immense authority, whether it's by delivering a message or by fighting a battle. Which brings us full circle, right back to that war we talked about at the very beginning. So how did a war of this scale ever break out in what was supposed to be a perfect heavenly realm? Well, the story basically unfolds in three major acts. First, you have the fall, a very high-ranking angel, Lucifer, rebels because of pride. That single act of defiance lights the fuse for a massive war in heaven. It pits Michael and the loyal angels against Lucifer and his rebels. But the war doesn't end with their destruction. It ends with their expulsion. They're cast out, waiting for a final judgment. And here's the kicker. This heavenly war didn't stay in heaven. The fallout spilled right over onto earth. According to texts like Genesis 6, a group of these fallen angels, known as the Watchers, came down and interfered directly with humanity, introducing a level of corruption so deep it actually set the stage for the story of the Great Flood. And this is so important to grasp. This isn't all just ancient history. The whole idea is that this spiritual war that started in heaven is still playing out on earth, right here, right now. So in this ongoing battle, the fallen angels are seen as agents of chaos and deception. Their influence is said to work on a huge scale, pushing destructive ideologies, stirring up confusion, and generally trying to steer humanity in the wrong direction. But of course, that influence doesn't go unchecked. The loyal angels are depicted as having their own mission of protection and intervention. And this can range from something really personal, like guarding an individual from harm, all the way up to the geopolitical, like influencing nations and leaders to carry out a divine plan. So, how does it all end? Well, this whole invisible struggle isn't meant to go on forever. The entire narrative points to a final, epic climax. A moment described in the book of Revelation, where the war goes from being unseen to being right out in the open, bringing this ancient, cosmic conflict to its final, prophesied end. So,
It leaves you with a thought, doesn't it? What if the real forces shaping our world are more than what we see on the news? What if, just behind the curtain of our reality, a silent, ancient war is still raging, fought by guardians who watch, who guard, and who fight, just out of sight?